Rhode Island is here. I was pleased to join with him in an article published in the New York Times not long ago. We don't agree on everything, but we do agree on this, that climate change is a serious problem and that it makes no sense to close nuclear power plants while they're safely operating and producing 60% of our carbon-free electricity in the United States. So I thank him for the partnership on that article in the New York Times.
I appreciate the chairman saying that very much.
Mr. President, today I come to the floor to express my opposition once again to the possibility that the Tennessee Valley Authority, the TVA as we call it, might raise our electric bills and waste more than $1 billion by buying electricity the region does not need by agreeing to purchase power from the Clean Line Energy Partners' proposed Plains and Eastern Wind Power Transmission Project. Congress has a responsibility to conduct oversight of TVA's decisions and also to ensure that TVA is fulfilling its missions as defined by the TVA Act. TVA does not receive any federal funding from Congress, but TVA is a federal corporation, and its board members are nominated by the President of the United States, confirmed by the United States Senate. The House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee and the Senate Environment Committee are responsible for oversight of TVA, have held hearings to discuss TVA's budget and policies. So as a United States Senator, Mr. President, I'm here today to exercise my oversight responsibilities on TVA. Clean Line Energy Partners, a Texas-based company, is proposing to build giant, unsightly transmission towers from Oklahoma through Arkansas to Tennessee, known as the Plains and Eastern Clean Line, to carry comparatively more expensive, less reliable electricity to Tennessee and other southeastern states. For the first time, federal eminent domain will be used over the objections of the state of Arkansas and both of Arkansas's United States senators to acquire the land necessary for the transmission line. In order to move forward with the construction of a single 700-mile high-voltage direct current transmission line, Clean Line Energy Partners must find utilities in the Southeast who are willing to purchase the power produced by an Oklahoma wind farm and transmitted by the Plains and Eastern Clean Line. For this reason, Clean Line Energy Partners and their supporters have been urging the Tennessee Valley Authority to agree to a long-term purchase agreement for wind power. In November, shortly after the election, the Southern Alliance for Clean Energy said, quote, "We strongly encourage TVA's board of directors to immediately contract for at least 1,000 megawatts of wind power on the Plains and Eastern Clean Line." Why the rush, I would ask? The answer is this: federal subsidies for wind power, subsidies that waste billions of dollars of taxpayer money each year, end after 2019. A petition being pushed by the Southern Alliance for Clean Energy, urging TVA to purchase the power, spells this out. They said, quote, "Critical deadlines regarding the federal production tax credit for wind power are fast approaching. The time to contract for low-cost wind power is now," so said the Southern Alliance. So last December, Mr. President, I wrote to the TVA saying, quote, "There shouldn't be a rush to approve any proposal from Clean Line Partners. This is a big, expensive decision and should be left to the next board of TVA. While this decision should be left to a full TVA board when all of its members are confirmed, I don't know why either a board with 3 vacancies, which is what we have today, or a complete board with all of its members confirmed would even consider approving such a deal. A contract with Clean Line Energy Partners could cost TVA ratepayers more than $1 billion over the next 20 or 30 years, the typical length of such an agreement. TVA, if it did that, would be disregarding its mission to provide low-cost power to the region if it were to contract for power the region doesn't need, regardless of the source of the electricity. In recent years, According to TVA, power demand throughout the Tennessee Valley has declined. In 2013, TVA began working with its customers to develop a long-term plan to meet the region's needs through 2033. In 2015, when TVA completed its integrated resource plan, that plan concluded this. This is TVA talking, quote, "There is no immediate need for new baseload plants after Watts Bar Nuclear Unit 2 comes online and uprates are completed at Browns Ferry Nuclear Plant." As a result of this conclusion, because TVA did not need the power, TVA decided last year to sell the unfinished Bellefonte nuclear power plant. So for the foreseeable future, TVA has said it doesn't need any new baseload power and doesn't plan any major new capital construction projects. This is good news for ratepayers because it means TVA can reduce rates and keep electric rates low. So why would TVA announce that it doesn't need new power for the next 15 years, sell a nuclear power plant capable of producing reliable baseload power for the next 60 years, and then turn right around and buy unreliable wind power that might only be available for 20 or 30 years until the turbines break down? TVA is, generally speaking, on a very good path. Its leadership has made sound decisions that will benefit ratepayers and our region. To fulfill its mission to provide safe, clean, reliable, and affordable power for the region's home and businesses, that's its mission, it has opened the first nuclear power reactor in the 21st century. And I may say, going back to Senator Whitehouse's speech, nuclear power is emission-free. No sulfur, no nitrogen, no mercury, no carbon. Nuclear power produces 60% of all of our carbon-free electricity. TVA is also placing pollution control equipment on all of its coal plants, and it's completing new natural gas plants. TVA has done this while reducing its debt and reducing electric rates, which is good news for jobs and economic development in the region. Mr. President, even if TVA did need more power, which it has said it does not, TVA should not agree to buy more wind power, which is comparatively unreliable and expensive. A look at TVA's previous experience with wind power illustrates how unreliable it can be, especially in our region. In 2001, TVA opened the first commercial-scale wind project in the Southeast. It is generous to say that it has been a failure. This project on Buffalo Mountain near Knoxville has the capacity to generate 27 megawatts of electricity. However, according to TVA, in 2016, last year, the Buffalo Mountain wind turbines provided only 4.3 megawatts on average. Capacity, 27 megawatts. Generation, 4.3 megawatts. Just 16% of rated capacity. In other words, these turbines, which cost as much as $40 million to build and must cost millions more over the life of the contract, produce little electricity and little of value to the TVA ratepayers. Wind usually blows at night when consumers are asleep and don't need the electricity. And until there's some way to store large amounts of it, a utility still needs to operate gas or nuclear or coal plants when the wind doesn't blow. For example, take a recent TVA peak summer day, July 26 last year, 2016. Tennessee Valley homes and businesses consumed 29,512 megawatts of electricity, nearly all of TVA's capacity of 33,000 megawatts of electricity. Part of that TVA capacity on that day that included contracts for nearly 1,250 megawatts of electricity produced by wind power. That was the capacity. However, at the peak demand during the day, when power is most urgently needed, those wind turbines with a rated capacity of 1,250 megawatts actually delivered only 185 megawatts of electricity. So on a day when Tennessee Valley needed power the most, wind turbines provided less than 15% of their rated capacity and less than 1% of the total electricity needed to power our region's homes and businesses. Not only is wind power unreliable, it can be expensive, more expensive than nuclear, which also produces zero emissions, or natural gas, which is low emission. TVA is currently completing a new 900 megawatt natural gas plant for roughly $975 million that will improve air quality in Memphis and be one of the most efficient gas plants in the world. Natural gas plants usually operate for at least 30 years, and according to TVA, can provide power in as little as 20 minutes to meet peak demand during hot summer afternoons and cold winter nights. Last year, TVA opened the country's first nuclear power reactor in the 21st century, Watts Bar 2, at the cost of $5 billion. Watts Bar 2 will safely provide 1,150 megawatts of power, more than 90% of the time, for the next 40, 60, or even 80 years. All of it emission-free. No sulfur, no nitrogen, no mercury, no carbon. The point is, TVA has concluded it doesn't need more power for the foreseeable future. Therefore, its board should resist obligating TVA's ratepayers for any new large power contracts, much less contracts for comparatively expensive and unreliable wind power. Instead, TVA should continue to provide low-cost, reliable power to the region because that boosts economic development throughout the Tennessee Valley. I thank the President, and I yield the floor.